Welcome back to the conversation where we explore the most pressing issues shaping Lagos and, of course, our society. Now, in a world where global trends are just a click away, Nigerian youth are increasingly drawn to the allure of Western culture, but at what cost? As the next generation embraces new lifestyles, are we seeing a gradual erosion of our rich and diverse cultural heritage? Today, we dive deep into the influence of Western culture on youth and what it means for the future of our traditions, values, and identity. Seated here is the SSA Public Affairs, Media and Publicity Office of the APC National Youth Leader and a youth inclusion advocate, Tunde Rufai Adejumo.
Pleasure.
This morning, we will unravel issues around the influence of Western culture on youths. Can we strike a balance between modern influences and our cultural roots? Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. It's my pleasure being here. I was striking a balance between modern influences and the Western culture. There is no balance. We've missed it along the line. They've succeeded in giving us sand and taking away our Gary. That is just because what they gave to us as a culture is sandy. We don't understand it. It's not part of us. We were not taught that way.
Give it to us here now.
The Western culture.
It's
civilization.
Okay.
Invasion of foreign culture into our own culture, and taking away our own custom, traditions, and value to give us their own, which is quite different from what we are made to understand while growing up.
Our forefathers who were handed over this, culture, this Western culture, still, upheld our traditions and was passed down to us. So we can't blame the Western people for that now. It is us.
Well, I think what makes us accept it more now is the digitalization of the world. The social media, we get more information now than our forefathers. But what the Western people does then is give us education, train us how to do some certain things. But now we now have internet to give us in-depth understanding of their own culture, traditions, and even their customs, rather than our own that we are made to grow up with.
Okay, we've been talking about culture. Okay, what exactly is culture?
Culture is a total way of life, of class, group of people, and even individuals.
Okay.
Way of life, total way of life that we are trained to come up with.
Okay.
In Nigeria, we have diverse cultures. The Igbos have their own way of life. The Yorubas have their own way of life. The Hausas have their own way of life. But we have cohabit. We are living in peace. We even fertilize ideas on their own culture with the Yoruba culture, because we are now brothers, just differentiated by language and even tongues. But we classify ourselves as Nigerians. We understand ourselves. The values of each cultures are being upheld to, unlike what we have now.
Okay. So how would you now describe, the impact of Western culture on us as Africans and Nigerians?
It has eaten deep into our fabrics. We now take it as part of our way of life, which is not. The impact is so diminishing that we've lost our own culture. We've sold our own culture out to other tribes, other countries, and taking their own, but forgetting that they never took to our own culture. What they did is give us their own culture. This is how we behave in our own land. And we're giving you education. It's far from we're giving you culture, but we are now taking education and culture at the same time, which is far different. Going to school, let's take it for instance, going to our public schools does not mean we cannot go with our own way of dressing. But we have now chosen to now look like on some certain schools will now say you cannot come to school without putting on your suits. Is it part of us? Is it our own?
What is wrong? You want them to go to school in Agbada?
That is our culture.
Buba and Sokoto.
That is our culture. But because we don't believe in it, because we feel, okay, this is the way those who give us this education are dressed and we must dress that way, it's quite different.
So are you saying that the Western culture is totally, bad for us?
Well, because it's not our own, it is bad. Our own must be projected, must be promoted, and must be given that national outlook.
Okay.
Now, what we are doing, if I'm coming here this morning because I'm coming to come and speak grammar, English or grammar, I must put on suits. I decided to dress this way because I want our people to know the essence of our conversation must also reflect on those who are discussing it. You're also wearing our attire. You are on green, I'm on white. Definitely we are representing Nigeria.
The Nigerian flag.
Yes.
Okay, so what areas do you see as a challenge, about the Western culture on our youth?
Well, the area of challenge is so simple, which is the culture is not completely bad, but what could be a challenge is we took to take all of their culture. We decided to jettison our own. What could be the challenge is that
for the youth, what exactly do you think that they have really taken,
There are some certain things they do outside the country that are not part of us here. For instance, there are certain terms of dressing that is meant for prisoners outside the world. But here we have adopted it and we name it something Malian, going birthless.
Oh, okay.
So we now name it Malians.
No, it's not actually Malians. They call it sagging.
Yeah, well, some people call it sagging. Some actually call it Malians that they don't use belt. But this is something that is meant for prisoners in the Western world. So once they see you that you are not on belt, it shows you are one of their suspects. You belong to a particular class in their own circle. No, but now we took it as a way of life because we don't even understand the reason why they are doing it. So it becomes a challenge. We need to understand why some certain dresses, Americans will dress probably during winter or summer without singlets, just with singlets, just because they are feeling heat. But here, even during cold, you see our youth wearing crop top. Is it part of us? We need to get it right. Okay, so it becomes a challenge. Okay. We don't even understand what we are copying. That's just the basic line.
Okay, aside dressing, which you have mentioned, let's talk about the cultural identity, knowing yourself as a Nigerian and an African. What do you think Nigerian youth are losing touch with?
Well, we are losing touch with a lot of things. When we are growing up, our parents used to serve us in the same plate so that we can actually, it builds up how brave we are. It builds up our courage. It gives us ability
when you say serve in the same plate, what does that mean?
Pardon?
When you say your parents...
We are being served in the same plates. All of you with like 4 or 5 children have a dish of plates. Oh yeah, but all of you should put hand inside same dish.
That didn't happen in all homes.
But many of our homes. That is why we are being brought up. But today you all have to take your own personal food, go to the dining, sit properly. During that period where we used to eat in the same plate, we will continue to hold each other's hand. We will see those who can actually eat faster. But now it is, you comport yourself. In fact, they will even tell you table manners. You don't talk while eating. But all of those things are because we are losing touch with our identity. Our identity is that we love ourselves.
Identity is not to be rough.
It's not to be rough, but it is to show that we love each other. It's to show that we are very used to one another. It's to show that we understand where we are coming from. But today, the reverse is the case. We no longer love each other. We no longer identify with each other. A Yoruba person from Oyo will differentiate himself from a Yoruba person from Ogbomoso, or not even, no, that is still within Oyo. A Yoruba person from Oyo will differentiate himself from a Yoruba from Ijebu. Forgetting that that word Yoruba is our identity. It's what brought us together. Today on social media, Igbos will say Yorubas are not your friend. We are now promoting hatred instead of unity. So we have lost our identity. We need to go back.
Okay, let's look at the role of technology and, of course, the media. How has the social media and entertainment amplified the emulation of Western culture among Nigerian youth?
Well, the best way to disseminate information to heterogeneous audiences is using the media. And content creation, ways and manner in which a content creator will create a message just to suit a purpose. Now, the Western world have seen media as the right to get people or lured people to themselves. So they've used media, most importantly. But when the media are now being regulated, I mean conventional media, traditional media now, just like a station, being regulated, there is a restriction to messages and information that can be sent to heterogeneous audiences through those platforms. But we left social media open. Now, people are no longer going to watch televisions. People are no longer listening to radio as it used to be. We now believe in going on Twitter, create a content, either genuinely or unconsciously. Create a content that will continue to disintegrate us as people. Now, no regulation. So the lack of regulation has helped in that aspect of making sure that, okay, any form of information can just go out, regardless of who is sending the information. Then people pick it. The way in a manner in which people send information now, forward information across to different platforms. Well, now WhatsApp has now regulated his own platform, that once a message is being sent to so many people, you see it forwarded too many times. So you can only forward to one person, one platform. Forgetting that one platform has over 250 people. You send to another platform with over 250 people, definitely you are still reaching out to a large number of people. So what I want to say now is that the government now need to sit back. Before now, we have lost touch with history. We need to come back to what brings us together as a nation, starting from 1914 to our current democratic dispensation, to understand where we are coming from and where we are actually going as a nation. So bring back history, that is one, and regulate the social platforms. It is very important, unless if we don't regulate the social platform, most especially the Twitter. Twitter travels faster than any other platforms now today in our society.
And we have a large number of
a large number of people. In fact, by the time you tweeted a message, you go back after 1 hour, go and see the impression. Not even those who retweeted or who responded to those messages, but the impression. The impression simply means those who have actually seen the message. You will see 18,000, 1.1 million. And that particular information the person is sending us is completely out of it. Something that can degenerate a nation, and we begin to now look out for where does this message originated from. Why not regulate? By the time the regulatory platform sees that this is against the rule and regulation of a country, they bring it down immediately. They don't even allow it to go to the public. So we need to get back to history and get our social media regulated.
Okay, you've talked about government, bringing back history to schools. You've talked about you talked about the social media. So what is the role of parents, in all of this?
Well, our parents, at
least they didn't give birth to us and they put us in school.
No, they didn't.
The parents are the first teachers. They are the first people we interact with.
Well, parents no longer spend much time with words with their children. So they are left with nannies and daycare staff who now take over their own responsibility. I have a son who is in the nursery class, and I used to tell him whenever he returned back from school, I don't speak English with him. I actually said, I paid the school.
Like my DP.
I paid the school to teach you English. You can't come back home and I begin to teach you English again. No. I would rather use my own dialect, which is Yoruba, to talk to him. In fact, most time, I call him Akoni. Yes. I wouldn't want to even call him his Muslim name. When you get to school, go and bear your Muslim name and your surname. But when you are with me, I call him Akoni. At the point, he asked me, what is Akoni? I said, the brave. By the time he gets into his head.
Akoni or Akoni?
Yes, Akoni is, I think you are still using Yoruba. Akoni omo. So you're still, you know, Yorubas still have this way of twisting tongues.
Tibola should say, like, I speak Yoruba.
So you can see. So I try to make him understand that he is brave. So he gets into his head. And he begins to think like a brave person. But he goes to school. They teach him English. They teach him mathematics. He returns back home. I begin to speak English to him. We are losing value. I'm not giving him the right value, the right identity of who he is, which is a Yoruba person. So I made him understand that. So what is missing is that our parents are no longer in touch with our children. We are no longer in touch with our children. Let me don't exempt my...
Some parents will not even allow their kids speak their language
at all.
In the house.
At all. So it's so demeaning that we need to begin to now look up, like the National Orientation Agency now begins to now go back, set up a platform that we can begin to reorientate our parents. Because by the time we lost our own values, our own customs, our traditions, and we begin to imbibe the Western world traditions and customs, then in the nearest future, Nigeria will be completely out of touch with its own values.
Okay, talking about values and, of course, our norms, how has this cultural shift, really affected the traditional values, norms, and beliefs? I want you to talk about our traditional values first as Yoruba people.
Well, many thanks to the Lagos State government for bringing back Isheshe and giving holiday. And in fact, I must commend the governor of Lagos, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, for doing that for us. It's a way of bringing us back to our tradition. And I want to also appeal to our imams and our pastors to please don't go to the altar and condemn this act of Mr. Governor, because it is for our own good. Well, we are all Muslims, well, we are all Christians, but we were all coming from somewhere before we become Christians and Muslims. So that place we are coming from, we must not lose touch with it. So we must continue to tell our children that despite the fact that we are a Muslim, we are Christians, we were born as Ogunshola, Shangolano, Ogundipe. No, we must, yes, those Ogundipe.
But some people have changed it to Oluwadipe.
In fact, I've had somebody say Jesus Lano. Well, it's good, it's good. We won't condemn it. But those who still wish to remain Ogundipe, Shangolano, let us keep it as such, so that we can educate our children that Shangolano actually means that the God of iron actually created a path for us. That path led us to become a Muslim and led us to become a Christian.
Okay, still talking about...
so our traditions must not be erased. Our traditions must not be tampered with. Now, I want to appeal to the federal government. Let them inculcate tradition, the traditional rulers, so to say, back to the Constitution. They have a role to play in developing our nation, upholding our culture, and transforming our tradition. They have a role to play because they are the custodian of our core values. We must give them a constitutional role to play so that we can begin to look at ourselves and begin to be proud of being a citizen of Nigeria and being a Yoruba person, an Hausa person, and a Igbo person. So give them a constitutional role to play. The religious institution should not condemn the Lagos state government and other government, state government that are doing so for declaring Isheshe Day holiday. Please don't. It is our culture. It is our tradition. If we don't believe in it at this time, I'm a core Muslim. But I won't rubbish other religion because it is there in the Quran that don't abuse their God so that they will not abuse your own God.
True.
Give them their own. That was what belongs to Caesar. Give it to Caesar. What belongs to Saul, give it to Saul.
Okay, we've talked about religion now, religious beliefs. Let's look at greetings. A typical Yoruba child or Yoruba person, no matter how old or how young you are, there's a certain way you should greet, but we hardly see it these days. Some don't even open their mouths to greet you. They will see you and they won't even greet you, not talk of kneeling down or prostrating.
That's the invasion of Western culture.
Western culture say you should not greet.
Western culture greets, but the pattern in which they greet is you shock your hand.
They greet.
Give me hand, I give you hand.
Kneel down.
But here, that's why, thank God, we are having this kind of conversation today. It's an avenue for us to tell our parents to begin to do the right thing, because education starts from home. When my child wakes up in the morning, I ensure he prostrates on the ground. Not because I am okay to see him doing that, but because I want him to understand our culture. So on that note, I want every parent to also do the same. Here in our own land, though, Yoruba people, you don't stand up to greet an elderly person. The same thing is being done in the north. An ordinary northerner will bend. Even to greet, we go down and greet. So it's part of us. So we must make sure that our children understand this, because if they don't understand it, there's no way they can exhibit it. We must teach them to know that here you prostrate, here you kneel down, here you don't even look up to an elderly person. Keep your eyes on the ground when you are talking to an elderly person. So it boils down back to our parents.
Okay, we'll come back to that. My colleague Abimbola has a question for you.
I'll just like for you to go back to earlier you talked about the fact that I'm sure your generation and my generation will not be too far off. The fact that while growing up, you know, there was this communal living. Eating together and all of that. How do we go back to community living? I know that our own generation, it took a community to raise a child. If you did anything wrong, they will beat you from the bus stop to your house. And your mother or your father will not complain that somebody did that. But today, it's going to be very hard to, discipline a child, and you're not seen as being wicked. So how do we go back to that era where, you know, we all bring up children in a communal setting? And also, the schools, do they have a role to play when it comes to culture, tradition, and helping raise children in a conscious environment?
Yeah, we can still go back to those days. It's a responsibility of you and I and every other person listening to us at this moment that for any nation to grow must start from a home. And a home that is divided against itself cannot stand. So a home that is divided cannot build a community. A community that is divided cannot build a society. A society that is divided cannot build a nation. So now we need to cohabit. We need to see ourselves as brothers. Parents now need to bring their words together, most especially during this, the last holiday. I don't know if most parents did it. We need to sit down with our children, even tell them stories of how we met with their mother and how we actually did our own, like growing up, how we actually grew up as their own parent. So we need to also tell them that your sister is your sister. You must love her the same way you love yourself. Your brother is your brother. You must love him the same way you love yourself. And the same love you have for each other must be extended to other families. because it takes just as she said, it takes a whole community to raise a child. So parents, I'll still go back to parents. We need to start educating our children. We need to start bringing them together. Let us fraternize with them so that we can have a society that we all can be all proud of. Now, going back to our schools. Schools now need to do Friday for traditional wears. Many times the Lagos State government, the Lagos State House of Assembly.
That's wahala for parents.
Yes, wahala for us. But
please let them maintain uniform.
because we still don't want to do what we are preaching. We need to do it. The reason is this. If Lagos State House of Assembly can come up with a policy that every Thursday we must speak Yoruba, it is because they don't want to get in touch. They don't want to get out of touch with our custom and tradition. So we can also do the same. That on Friday. It's a proposal. It's a proposal.
Friday for them to wear traditional wear. It can actually be a day to promote culture, wearing their school uniform, but doing different things. I know there are some public schools that have one day in a term, usually the third term.
We used to have that.
Cultural day.
Where, you know, that day, yes, you all are done whatever in your culture, but making parents part with money to sew Ankara or whatever every Friday.
Well, it's a proposal. It's just an advice. It's just an advice. It can be.
The essence of uniform is for uniformity.
Yes.
So if you do make them wear something, you will find students now, teachers or school now contending with styles. So the proposal, let's maintain uniform. We can advocate for a day set aside to promote culture. But let's remain.
That's a nice from your own perspective. Yes. From my own perspective, if teachers on Friday can go on native,
but you know teachers don't wear uniform.
No, but teachers have a specific dressing they actually are there to during the weekdays. So that if it's expensive because of the current economic situation, we can actually say, well, let schools intensify efforts in promoting cultural days.
Agreed. Okay. I won't fault you on that.
Let schools intensify efforts in promoting cultural days, so that, in fact, some schools actually ask you to prepare your native local dishes, so that you now exchange with your friends and see how your local dishes taste and the likes. So it's good, but we can actually also take this further to the Lagos State government or the federal government to actually declare a day in our public schools as Cultural Day, where we display cultures, traditions, and our customs.
I know time is fast spent, but you know, is there a way youth can balance the adoption of modern influences while still preserving the Nigerian cultural identity?
Yeah, there are ways in which we can balance it. It's just to take less of their own, take much of our own, so that we will not be seen. I'm following a guy on, I think on Instagram, and he used to come up on every Friday. He lives in the UK. He said, today is Friday. Why are you dressing in suit? Why are you wearing jeans? Come on, get an attire for yourself, you know? And he dressed in that attire.
He lives in the UK.
Yes, he lives in the UK, and he's promoting our own culture. So something like that is only trying to balance the situation. By the time you start wearing it on Friday, you say, today is Wednesday. Why don't you look simple in your own local attire again? You know, by that we are sharing the days. They take 3 days, we take 2 days. They take 2 days, we take 3 days. So we can balance it. And at the same time, a way in which we can balance it is, let us look less on social media. That avenue, that platform is so influential that you can even forget that you are Tunde Rufai and begin to bear Use boat or whatever names you want to call yourself that has to suit their own side there. But we need to look less on social media, though it's good for us. We get more information, we are exposed, we transact business, we conversate with our friends across the globe. But at the same time, something that would diminish our own culture, we should play less on it on social media.
Thank you very much. We can still strike a balance between modern influence and our natural Nigerian cultural identity. Thank you very much, Tunde Rufai Adejumo, SSA Public Affairs, Media and Publicity Office of the APC National Youth Leader. We've been talking about influence of Western culture on youth. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
The program continues after this short break.